What's up, y'all? It's your girl Chelsea. I go by model Chelsea Talise in the fashion industry in Louisville, Kentucky. 502 Stand Up. This is Beauty and Brains podcast, Cognitions of the Creative, season 4, episode 1. We'll be talking about National Depression and Mental Health Screening Month, which takes place in October. I've got one of my great friends here and fellow clinicians, Capri Richardson, who is owner and founder of First Contact Athletic Counseling and a licensed therapist in Texas. Welcome, Capri.
Yay, thank you for having me. I'm so excited we finally get to do this and talk about some things that are near and dear to my heart.
Yes, absolutely. Would you like to add on to your introduction and tell the people a little bit about what you do in your field?
Yes, so I am, as you mentioned, a mental health therapist located here in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I, previous to that, I was a former collegiate volleyball player as well as professional volleyball player for a few years in Europe. And that was a good time.
Yes.
And then after that, I decided, okay, it's time to go back to school. Time
Mm-hmm.
to, get with the rest of society and get a job. And while obtaining my license to become a therapist and counselor,
Mm-hmm.
I also coached collegiate volleyball.
Nice.
Uh, so kind of hitting all the realms there. And
Mm-hmm.
then also club or travel ball for high schoolers.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a little bit more about me.
Yes, ma'am. You do it all. I'm so proud to know you. You are killing the game. She also, look, I'm over here telling your business. She also speaks at conferences, y'all, and she is such a great speaker. I would say keynote speaker. She should be every time, but you're really doing some good work out there, sis, and I just had to shine a light on that. So thank you for coming on.
Yes, of course. Thank you. Thank you.
So we're just going to go ahead and get into it. With this being National Depression and Mental Health Screening Awareness Month, I'm so happy that I have a clinician on the podcast because I feel like it brings a little diversity to the seasons because I'm typically accompanied by a creative. And so I'm glad that we can have like an additional stream of mental health facts coming in within this episode. So, as a clinician, what would you say is one of the most is of the most importance when it comes to mental health screenings?
Yes. So, and I forgot to add this in my intro, but I primarily work with the athletic population. No
Mhm.
surprise there.
Mhm.
So when I am screening them, it's important that we don't just think about screening as just a piece of paper or a test,
Yeah.
if you conceptualize it that way. Um, Screening is multiple things. It's how someone presents. Like,
Mhm.
are you, for us, is it okay? Is that hair done, or are we stressing about something,
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
do we even have time? Um, are we smelling like we're taking care of ourselves and being
Mhm.
hygienic?
Yeah.
It can go all the way from that to um, the people around, if we are lucky enough to be able to have access to that,
Mhm.
what are the people around them saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially when it comes to depression, it's important that it's kind of collaborative with the
Mhm.
support system that they may have, even if they don't feel like they have one in that moment.
Yeah.
Okay, what have you noticed about so and so? Or can you tell me anything about what you've noticed amongst anyone on the team, if I'll put it back
Mhm.
in the sports realm? So
Mhm.
really, it's a holistic picture of how someone is currently presenting and doing.
Yeah. Yeah. You described that very well. And something that stuck out to me most was that need for collateral information, especially if we're dealing with someone who's depressed or who we think may be depressed. It could be hard, to get that important information out of that person. So being able to have access to their support system or to their emergency contact or their spouse or partner, or caregiver, caretaker, any of those, all the above. But to have access to those people who can give us honest um, facts on what this person has been through, what triggered it, how long have they been this way, um, has this happened before, so I think just that collateral information, it opens so many doors when it comes to screening and really being able to figure out how to treat someone who is dealing with whatever we're screening for,
Mm-hmm.
in
Right. And
particular depression.
yes, yes. And I'll add too, for those who maybe are like, well, don't I get a say? And if you get to ask these people, you do.
Mhm.
And,
Mhm.
that still requires me to get consent from, that client or that person if they've entered a counseling relationship with me
Yeah.
to be like, do you mind if I ask, your family or friend or
Mhm.
whomever? So that also, I had to add that in there.
Yeah, for sure. Confidentiality. They gonna beat that in our brains, ain't they?
Oh, yes.
That's a good therapist, y'all. That's a good clinician. That's an ethical clinician. But yes, confidentiality. We're always gonna ask the client first before we just start calling people and getting information, because at the end of the day, that is your personal information. Regardless if your family knows this or not, we have to have a release of information to even be able to call them and let your family know what's going on if we are doing a screening. So it's on both sides, honestly. I do think it's important to know that a screening is the first step, of trying to um, assess our needs, right? So if we're doing a screening, um, kind of like versus an assessment, I guess is where I'm going with this. So a screening is more so on a narrow scope, right? Like we can do a depression screening, or we can do an anxiety screening, and we can do a um, eating disorder screening. We can do a postpartum uh, psychosis screening. It can go on and on with what we can screen for versus an assessment that will be like a full evaluation, right? And like all of the dimensions that we take up. So I think it's good to get a screening as, the first step in case we have any concerns, about what we're dealing with, what we're going through, or even those people within our community, if they have, concerns about us from the outside looking in. That would be something good to recommend as someone a part of one's community, is to get a screening, and then from there, you could decide if you want further evaluation or assessment, but at least being able to kind of understand a little bit more what you may be experiencing.
Right, right. And it also allows us to check in on the community or whoever, we're giving out these screenings to. Because in order to get a screening, you don't have to be, someone's client
Sure.
already.
Mhm. Mhm.
It could just be kind of like when you go to like a little booth or a pop-up
Yeah.
that you're like, hey, would you like to take this? Maybe that just gives them insight. It's almost kind of like when, when folks take those online quizzes of what is my Enneagram or
Yeah.
my, my rising sign. And it's the
Mhm.
same, it's the same thing, but, backed by a little bit more, research so that it provides us as well as the potential client to be like, oh, I didn't realize I was feeling that way. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, now that you know that you are,
Mhm.
and I see it and you see it,
Yeah.
uh, should we do this thing? And you
Mhm.
still get to have a say. It's not, uh-oh, we
Yeah.
caught you and now you getting sent to the principal's office essentially.
Mhm.
It's like, no, you still have a say in how you would like to do treatment or not.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's really good. That's really good. It doesn't have to be your identified clinician in order for you to be screened. Um, because when we go to the doctor, they just have a simple COVID screening now. Like,
Mhm.
have you felt sick within the last 7 days? Have you had a fever? Have you been out of the country? Have you, that's a screening that you do every time when you go to the doctor or to a, whatever office, whether it's paper form, whether it's on an iPad or whatever, that also is its own type of screening. So that also gives, like you said, us as clinicians a heads up on what we may be, on ways that we may need to intervene for someone who we are about to see.
1,000%. I will
Um,
say that that is also the first step for us to see, how things are just in a general sense. Like if we're thinking about a full community or a society,
mm,
a lot of people, and this is not a surprise when it comes to mental health, underreport on screenings.
mm,
Um,
yeah, you're right.
Give us the full picture of like who's struggling when and why.
Mm,
So it's not the end all be all, like you were saying before. It's a brief, little entry into seeing what's going on, but we as clinicians are also not just like, okay, sounds
mm-hmm,
good.
mm-hmm,
You're not experiencing anything.
right.
No, we also know that there's a lot of underreporting due to
Mm,
stigma or
mm-hmm,
feeling like, well, my problems aren't that bad compared to someone else.
yeah,
The kind of that undercutting your symptoms,
yes.
um, financials, right? Of like,
Mm,
well, I may not even be able to do this. So why
yeah, I
even,
can't afford treatment.
yeah, so why even like start this process if I can't even go through with it?
Mm-hmm,
So yeah, there are many, many reasons why people might underreport
mm,
why they're depressed or other screenings like we talked about.
yeah. Ooh, that's so good. Underreporting because of stigma. Not
Mm,
wanting to be judged, or maybe not accepting a part of self quite yet, because I do think in order to receive any type of services, we have to have some form of acceptance, of what what could be happening, that we are going through an adjustment or that we are experiencing mental health challenges. Um, and that is a whole process to become accepting of new adjustments in life, especially if they're internal.
yes.
So let's get into the therapy room when you are one on one with your clients or maybe even group. Do you do groups?
I have, but
Okay.
not as often.
Okay. So when you're doing one on ones, what is your favorite approach when dealing with athletes in particular who struggle with depression?
Yeah, I don't always know that at first because
Mm-hmm.
even assigning that to someone, which, for us, that can feel like an even bigger weight of like, dang, that's what
Yeah.
this is. Now this
Yeah.
label is just stuck on my head,
Mm,
which brings shame.
yeah.
And, we are predominantly, we can be a proud people because of
Mm-hmm.
all of the things that we've overcome and, the strong black man, strong black woman tropes and everything else that can come into the room with that,
Mm-hmm.
can make it really hard to say, this is what I have.
Yeah.
But I say that carefully. That's what maybe we have. That's not who we are.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We're not depressed. You're a depressed person, or
Mm-hmm.
you're someone who's experiencing depression
Yes.
currently. You are still you at the end of the day, and it's my job to help you, yes, work through those things, but also to realize, most importantly, that is not you. And at any moment during this process, you have the wherewithal, the autonomy to
Yeah.
change that.
Yeah. Definitely, you're a person first.
Hmm.
You're a person first for sure. And labels, um, if we internalize them, are terrifying.
Yes. Like, yeah, I ain't doing this no more. I'm done.
you know? It's like, wait, what? That's what I struggle with? Holy crap. And then we get to looking everything up on Google and we're clicking on the scariest links.
Yeah. the whole spiral. It's always the spiral. It's like, no, you don't got to do all that. I am right here for a reason. I did get trained to help you handle this, so don't feel like you have to handle it on your own.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess that's something I could bring up now too. I just started like a mental health Monday trivia
I've seen
for
those. Those
yeah,
are
for
fun.
Beauty and Brains. And so I try to post every Monday, and I don't know if it was last Monday or the Monday before, but the question was which disability is the primary disability in America? And it was depression.
Mm, wow,
The primary disability.
that phrasing.
You know, I
Yeah,
was so shocked when I found that, and I was just like, oh my God. I mean, obviously, I know it can be considered a disability. However, I didn't see it as that big. And I don't know if that sounds shallow of me or naive of me as a, as a clinician, but that verbiage, I mean, I know that depression and anxiety are like the top diagnoses, or the top mental health challenges um, that people deal with. But to say that depression is the number one disability in America was just
yeah.
mind blowing.
Can happen to anyone at any time.
Yeah.
Um, Unlike maybe certain other, disabilities, and
Mhm.
it's an invisible one sometimes.
Ooh.
Other disabilities, we're like, oh well, clearly
Mhm.
you need to use the ramp, or clearly you need to use this button to gain access to this building. Like all these things that we are like, well, I can see it, so I believe
Mhm.
you.
Yeah.
Versus depression, it's not. People, we also unfortunately as a society have made depression this thing that's like, well, you have to be looking like Eeyore from Winnie the
Mm.
Pooh in order
Mhm.
to actually be depressed, or
Yeah.
someone essentially even close to suicide, which
Mm.
even that isn't always easy to catch.
Yes. Correct.
So it's one of those things that's like, oh, you're not depressed, or what do you have to
Mhm.
be depressed about? Like, look at you.
Mm.
That's always how it is. Like, look
Ooh.
at you, or look at your life. Especially, with my going back to the athletes part of it. Um, y'all are getting paid buku dollars. Like, how could you be depressed?
Mm.
Which
Mhm.
of course just feeds the stigma monster. Like, good. I want you to keep underestimating what this battle, this demon, this disability actually is, because
Yeah.
that just lets the depression work even better in silence.
Yeah. Wow. Look at your life. That's where I'm stuck.
Hmm.
Look at your life. That's so true. And I think that is related to, like the myth of depression solely being associated with a bad life, or solely associated with grief associated with death, or solely associated with loss of a job, So I think it would be helpful if we could expand on our understanding that depression can take up space anywhere.
Yes. Anywhere, anybody, anytime. And you, again, if we focus on that separation of identity, um, you are not depression.
Mhm.
Then
Mhm.
we are able to see a little bit more of like, dang, this thing really did sneak up on me. It's literally, I call it like a depression monster of like
Yeah.
this thing that's just sneaking up in the background behind you as you're
Mhm.
trying to live your life, your fullest life, your best life. And
Mhm.
here comes this thing that just taps you on the shoulder, and you're like, well, here it is. I got it
Yeah. Yeah.
now. Looking at it more like that. And so when we think of it that way, then maybe we're able to separate not just ourselves, but how we view other people who might be
Mhm.
going through depression, and
Mhm.
not as this like weakness that is maybe found within the person, um, on an individual characteristic basis. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
there's some, this person is not wrong or broken.
Mm,
There's just something going on in their life that a trained professional um, can help them through. So,
yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, you are hitting all the nails on the head, especially with the stigmas attached to depression.
this is something I just see so much
Yes.
of,
Yes.
not just in my therapy room, but when I talk to colleagues like yourself, or even when I am watching TV, like TV shows and how they depict it, it's just like, this is
Mm-hmm.
not how this needs to be. And the fact that you say it's number one, I'm like, I 1,000% believe it. I don't even need to see the stat, but
Yeah.
doing the due diligence of like, this is just not okay, and what can I do to stop it? So that is, getting up on the latest research, the latest assessments, ways to treat it, and
Yeah.
ways to treat it in different populations, even like it
Mm-hmm.
presents differently. This is backed by research. Depression presents differently in Black folk,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
which of course we weren't the first to be assessed, at least ethically
Right.
and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So no wonder we're kind of just now figuring this out of like, oh, so when a Black woman is depressed, it might look different than an Asian woman or Asian American woman, which even, that culture presents it differently
Sure.
compared to white, which is
Mm-hmm.
predominantly, where a lot of the assessments come from. So being able to even just have that lens of like, okay, even though you didn't screen for depression, or you didn't um, get the assessment go of like, yeah, you're depressed.
Mm-hmm.
Me as a clinician, it's important again to do more than just the paper work of a test or an assessment to be like, the braids is coming off of our
Yeah.
head,
Mm-hmm.
it's fuzzy. When's the last time like you ate?
Yeah.
Uh, all these things that, because I'm, doing my job and being culturally aware,
Mm-hmm.
then that makes it a little easier for me to call it out and be like, hey, honey, you are depressed. And I
Yeah.
know you do not see it this way because that's not
Mm-hmm.
how we usually talk about it, but
Mm-hmm.
you are. And I really would love to help you through this,
Yeah.
because going through it alone, oftentimes, especially depending on the severity, is a losing battle.
Yeah. That affect, when someone is severely depressed, that affect is the straight giveaway. Even if it's not the only thing that this person is dealing with. Of course, I'm pretty sure most people who have or struggle with depression is also comorbid with something else. Usually, depression is partnered with another mental health challenge, such as anxiety. Usually, people have both at the same time. So yeah, that mental status exam, even though it's not something that the client has to fill out, like the screener, or, be um, first person within that process. But the mental status exam, we're definitely documenting how you're dressed. What type of facial expressions you were making, what body language you had, what was your tone of voice, what were your thoughts like? Did you have loss of memory?
You got it down.
It's all of the things, and most of it is just done um, by looking at you. Just a informal observation. And of course, we document that, but I just wanted to add to what you were saying, that it goes hand in hand with any type of screening that we do, because we can't just collect information off of verbal alone. Because again, if someone is depressed, they might not be talking much.
Right. Or masking. Yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a good one. Or masking. And so I feel like depression is, there's like a formula to it. But I know I can't be super specific because it looks different for everyone. But I've come to like this possibility, and let me know what you think about it, that depression is an accumulation of repressed or suppressed thoughts and exhaustion.
Hmm. Okay. I like where you're going with that.
And so I'm saying that because, one, there's a difference between repressed and suppressed thoughts. And so for the audience who is listening, repression is the unconscious process of blocking unwanted thoughts or feelings. So this is trauma that lives within us that we are unconsciously not dealing with on a regular, versus suppressed thoughts are thoughts that we're aware of, but we're consciously putting on the back burner. Like, I ain't got time to think about that. I don't want to think about that right now. I don't want to process that, so you're choosing to not deal with certain thoughts or traumas when you're suppressing feelings. And with repression, it's so deeply rooted and traumatic for you that it's involuntary, that you're not tending to these thoughts. So I'm saying that both of those type of thoughts, repression and suppression, on top of exhaustion from daily life struggles, daily life obstacles, um, and not having a safe space to navigate your repressed or suppressed thoughts.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Wow. I didn't think of it that way, but I like that synopsis of it. And then if I were to add anything to it, it would be, and how does repression and suppression, with the exhaustion, manifest in these negative
Mm.
ways, and not negative as in bad, but like where something is being taken away. So,
Mm-hmm.
that lowered interest in
Yes.
something,
Mm-hmm.
that lowered, and sometimes, heightened, sense of appetite.
Mm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
Same with sleep. So how are the majority of these symptoms tending, or trending more towards the negative? Like what's
Yeah.
being taken away from this person's life to
Mm-hmm.
help them
Social
become.
withdrawal.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's good. That's just, again, that's my uh hypothesis on how depression can occur. But I'm sure there's a lot of formulas, that can equal up to someone experiencing depression. It can be seasonal. It can be triggered by a traumatic event. It can be um, anxiety on the flip side, because we're isolating because we're anxious, but now we're depressed because we're isolated. So that's the way that comorbidity works. So there's just so many reasons that you can fall into depression, a depressed state, or just experience feelings of depression. I do want to highlight that you can have feelings of depression but not be depressed.
yeah.
It's a timeline as far as being clinically depressed. This has to have been going on for quite some time. I want to say at least 6 months
Yep.
straight. Is that right?
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So it has to be at least 6 months that you've been feeling this way with no break. And not due to loss of, a loved one, or, we have to, um, what's it called? Kind of, what's the word called when we mark out other alternatives of what it could be?
Oh,
Um,
like differential.
yes, differential diagnoses. We have to consider those, because if someone just lost a loved one, it wouldn't be right to diagnose them with clinical depression.
Right, right. But there is a term for that too.
Right, right.
Almost where it's like the grief just kind of overtakes your entire life and it's
Yeah.
prolonged. Yeah.
Mhm.
But yes, as you were saying, we aren't just giving that out like candy.
Yeah.
I know social media and society makes it seem that way. So another reason why I always say language actually does matter. Because not everyone is depressed. You might be having depressive symptoms, like you said, but when it talks about the clinical term of it, it has to be pretty persistent.
Yes.
Major depression. And I will say, I apologize. It's usually actually at minimum the 2 weeks.
Oh, it's just 2 weeks? Oh, wow.
Yeah, but there are chronic versions of it.
Yeah. I don't know why I thought 6 months, honey. I ain't read that DSM.
No, there's a different diagnosis, and it's skipping my mind right now, that it does require at least a 6-month period.
Okay. I wonder if that's acute stress disorder or. Okay, I'm gonna figure it out. But the verdict is out, y'all. It's 2 persistent weeks. And that could just be considered a depressed episode. That doesn't mean that you have depression and you're going to be clinically depressed for the rest of your life. So there's that. There's episodes, and then there's diagnoses. Say it again.
And then there are different severities of it.
Yeah.
That we also look at: the mild, moderate, and severe. Paired, it could be paired with psychosis, potentially. Yeah, and then it's, even though it's not official, like I said, there are chronic versions of it, versus maybe more acute and sharp.
Yeah. Man, we can go on and on about this, can't we?
We can. So I apologize if we are taking this train off the track.
So, the last question. What populations do you witness to have a greater risk of experiencing depression in your community?
Now, when you ask that, like I said before, so I work with the athletic community in general. So are you talking about like different professions within that?
Yeah, so it can be any community you identify with. It can be your community as a woman, as a coach, as an athlete, as a therapist, as a Black woman. So anywhere that you see it most, where the populations that would be more at risk to experience depression within any of those communities.
Okay, I don't know if I'm too good at the comparison part of it, but I will say two of those communities that I guess I would associate myself with, or that I see, I would say black women in general. When I see it with the athletes I work with, not all of them even make it into the room. Because there's like this additional stigma of like, oh no, I really have to be strong because this is what I'm getting paid to do, or going to school. So a lot of underreporting there, but Black women in general, definitely.
Yeah.
And then this is a surprising one. Referees.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah. And maybe for that one, I mean, who's around to tell them good job? When are they not having a night or two where they're getting boos and jeers? Yes, sometimes assaulted. That's why we're seeing, more police presence, not just for, play, because that's getting bad too, for players and coaches, but for them, like when they are done with reffing a match, they have to be escorted out of a building. Yeah. That's not always the case for athletes and coaches where they have to be escorted out.
Mm-hmm.
They also are not allowed to leave. I don't want to say allowed, but you will almost never catch a ref leaving a game in their uniform.
Yeah.
They always change out
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because they don't want to be targeted.
Wow.
Hmm. Yep. Yep.
Wow. You just totally like knocked the bulb in my brain because I never considered that.
I
But it
didn't either
all makes
until
sense.
I saw them. I'm like,
Say it
wow.
again?
I said I didn't either until I started seeing a few, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness. I thought, sure, athletes and coaches they have it rough, especially nowadays,
Mm-hmm.
but there's still that sense of like, well, somebody out there is rooting for me, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Whereas with refs, it's like, they just got each other, I
Wow.
guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's only what, two or three of them versus a whole stadium or arena.
Yes.
Wow.
Hmm.
It definitely gives bullies sometimes.
Oh, good with that.
From the fans, the
And
fanatics.
yes, they also can't show emotion in their job,
Wow.
right? Like
Yeah.
you're not allowed to express much emotion for better or for worse, but
Mm-hmm.
you have to suppress, kind of like what you was talking
Yeah. Wow. Wow. You really just did something there because I never, it never crossed my mind. And now I look at it totally differently. And don't get me wrong, like I am thinking about back in high school and, college when we would have, our little time in the student section.
about.
We were definitely booing the ref.
Yeah.
We were definitely booing the ref. And so even though to us it was just that one game and that one moment, for a ref, that could come multiple times throughout a week or even, in a day, depending on what time of the year it is. So to get that type of energy and consistent like demeaning, labeling and, hollering at you, I feel like people throw things at refs sometimes.
Oh, they do. And sometimes it's hands.
Oh God. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that I could definitely see them being um at risk for experiencing depression. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So if you see a ref and you go to a game, tell them they did a good job if you genuinely think that,
Hmm.
or, just even give them a smile and,
Yeah.
just give them some kindness of some sort.
Hmm.
Because, yeah, they have it pretty rough. There's, like you said, a lot of suppression. Their community is low. I mean, they might have friends or family outside,
Hmm.
but when it comes to the community that they care about and love, within sports, all of us grow like, sports fans really grow an affinity towards that community
Yeah.
and they can't even express it
Mm. Yeah.
and let alone tell people
Right.
that, oh yeah, I refed that Cowboys game. Like, no, but a player can be like, yeah, I play for the Cowboys, but
Yeah.
the rest
Hmm.
can't do that because they're putting themselves in harm's way. So
Yeah.
yeah, whenever you see a ref, give them a little appreciation of some sort.
Yeah. A head nod and a smile goes a long way, y'all.
Hmm.
Well, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this thing up, Capri, my girl. This has been great. I learned a lot from you today, and so I thank you for coming on and just sharing your thoughts as a fellow clinician and your approaches within the therapeutic room and just your view. What you see within your community and how that relates to depression and mental health screenings, which are super important. Um, so thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge. Is there anything that you wanted to share before we got off the call?
If you or someone that you know is struggling, I always got to end with this.
Mm-hmm.
Please ask for help.
Yeah.
And if that means starting with uh, someone that you trust, like a friend or family member,
Mm-hmm.
go there, but don't always expect it to end there.
Yeah.
Just as long as it probably took us to recognize these deeper, maybe darker feelings,
Mm-hmm.
um, that amount of time is applied to treatment of like, all
Mm-hmm.
right, I've been holding on to this for, so many years, and it might take some time
Mm-hmm.
to get through it. So reach out for help. If you are in either of our areas, you can reach out to us through, I don't know if you'll be adding any show notes or like websites or anything, but
Yeah, drop
um,
yours. Where can they find you?
okay. I feel like what's easy because my website is a little long, but my Instagram, you can access my website through my bio, and that is easy.
Okay.
It's my company name. It's at first underscore contact counseling.
Okay.
And if all else, I mean, that is a page where I just drop little gems, things to think about, my, journeys as a therapist, all sorts of things that just make me love what I do. So,
Yes.
um, but yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Capri. I wish you nothing but the best in all that you continue to do for the community. Again, thank you for all that you do. Y'all, this was Beauty and Brain, season 4, episode 1. We talked about National Depression and Mental Health Screening Awareness Month with Capri Richardson, licensed therapist in Texas. I thank you all for joining. You are listening to the voice of Chelsea Talise, model in the fashion industry in Louisville, Kentucky, and I'm also a mental health clinician in the state of Kentucky. Y'all stay tuned because we ain't done. Peace.